Ma'am, you can't be serious. Officer Kent's voice trembled as he sat, pale and sweating, in the courtroom bench. His partner, Officer Daniels, sat next to him, clutching his police-issued cap like it could hide him from what he was seeing. Their mouths were open, their eyes wide in disbelief. At the front of the courtroom, wearing a calm but firm expression, was the woman they had handcuffed just 2 nights ago. She wore a black robe now, her nameplate gleaming in front of her, Honorable Judge Simone Brooks. Her voice, steady and clear, echoed in the silence. Officers Kent and Daniels, you are here today for a very serious matter. Before we begin, let the court note for the record. I will be presiding. The room gasped. The bailiff stared like he'd seen a ghost. Reporters' pens froze mid-sentence. One of the attorneys nearly dropped her files. A hush fell over the courtroom, so heavy it felt like a wall of bricks. And Kent, he blinked once, then again, trying to make sense of what was happening. Because 2 nights ago, they'd dragged Simone out of her own car, slammed her onto the hood, and arrested her in front of half a dozen people. Called her aggressive, told her she fit the description, ignored her badge when she tried to explain. Now she was their judge. How did this happen? Let's go back. It all started on a rainy Thursday in June. Simone Brooks had just finished her shift. The courthouse had been tense that week. 3 big trials, 2 back-to-back sentencing hearings, and a protest just outside the building about police accountability. Simone, though, was used to pressure. At 38, she was one of the youngest black women to be appointed as a state judge. She kept her head high, her work clean, and her mouth shut when people whispered behind her back. She didn't have time for small-minded folks. That night, she wore jeans and a long blue coat. She drove her silver Mercedes, nothing flashy, just something reliable with good tires for the rain. She had taken the back roads home because the main highway was flooded. At a red light near a liquor store in an old neighborhood, she saw flashing lights behind her. Blue and red, screaming loud. A police cruiser. She checked her mirrors. No speeding. No busted lights. No rolling stops. She pulled over anyway. The officer approached fast, flashlight in hand, already tapping the glass before she even turned down the radio. License and registration. Simone offered a warm smile. Good evening, officer. May I ask what I'm being pulled over for? He ignored the question. The other officer walked around to the passenger side. You fit the description, Officer Daniels snapped, his hand hovering near his holster. Simone blinked. Excuse me. Step out of the car. She didn't move. Officer, she said calmly, I am a judge. I have ID in my purse. I would like to. Step out. Now. And before she could explain, Officer Kent yanked the door open and pulled her out like a rag doll. Her coat got caught. Her purse fell to the floor. Her head hit the car door. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting. A crowd formed. Phones came out. They slammed her onto the hood and handcuffed her. One of them reached into her purse, pulled out her ID, and laughed. Oh, what's this? Judge Judy. They stuffed her in the back seat. At the station, things didn't go better. They booked her under the name Simone B. No one listened when she said she was a judge. They didn't check her ID again. No phone call. No apology. She sat in a cold cell for 3 hours until a supervisor came through, did a double take, and his face went pale. From there, everything changed fast. The cuffs came off. A lawyer arrived. And Simone, silent and watching, made a single call. That night, she went home. Quiet. Shaken. But not broken. The next day, she filed a formal complaint. The department tried to sweep it under the rug. Said she matched the description of a suspect who robbed a store. Said her car was suspicious. Said her behavior was aggressive. But now it was time for court. And Simone made sure she would be the one holding the gavel. As she looked down at the 2 officers in the courtroom, she kept her face unreadable. But behind her eyes, a storm was brewing. She hadn't told anyone in the courtroom what was about to happen. Not the attorneys. Not the press. Not the staff. And now, as the court recorder clicked keys and the lawyers flipped through their notes, the officers sat there, realizing too late who she was. But just as she raised the gavel and prepared to speak, a loud knock echoed through the courtroom doors. Everyone turned. The bailiff walked over, opened the door, and spoke with someone outside. He stepped back in, face tight, eyes scanning the room. He leaned close to Simone. Your Honor, he whispered. There's something you need to see. Simone's eyes narrowed. She stood slowly. I'm calling a 10-minute recess, she said. Then she walked out of the room. The courtroom buzzed like a kicked beehive. What did he show her? Who was outside? And what could possibly change the course of what was about to happen? Rewind again. A week before the arrest, Simone had been working late on a case involving police misconduct. A teenager, only 16, had been stopped and searched without cause. He'd been roughed up, left with bruises, and no charges filed. The officers claimed he had drugs. None were found. Simone had ruled that the case would go to trial. It made headlines. Some officers didn't like that. She heard whispers in the hallway, cold stares in the parking garage. One day, her car tires had been slashed. Another day, a dead rat was left on her windshield. But Simone kept walking. She didn't flinch. Her assistant, Cara, had begged her to take security detail. Simone refused. If I back down now, what kind of message does that send? Her father had taught her that. A pastor in Georgia, he used to say, "Baby girl, when the storm comes, you don't run from it. You plant your feet." So she did. But the night of the arrest? That wasn't a storm. That was a trap. And now the trap was snapping shut, just not in the way the officers thought. The recess passed quickly. Simone walked back into the courtroom, face unreadable. She sat, looked at the officers, then at the DA. Proceed. The DA stood, files in hand. Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I'd like to begin with a brief recounting of the incident. But before he could speak, the back doors of the courtroom flew open. Gasps. A figure walked in. People turned in their seats. Simone froze for the first time. Because who just walked and changed everything? The tall man who stepped into the courtroom wore a dark gray suit. His face was stern, carved from stone. A U.S. flag pin gleamed on his lapel, but it wasn't that which made the room fall silent. It was the badge he carried in his hand, held high. Department of Justice. Civil Rights Division. He walked with the kind of confidence that didn't come from arrogance, but from power. Real power. The kind that said, I don't knock twice, and I don't come alone. Behind him, 2 more federal agents entered. 1 woman, 1 man. Both in plain suits, both scanning the room like they already knew every secret hidden in it. Simone's eyes locked with the man's for a moment. Just a flicker. Then she straightened her back, folded her hands on the bench, and nodded. May I help you, sir? She asked. He spoke without hesitation. Your Honor, my name is Richard Hale. Department of Justice. Civil Rights. We're here under direct orders. The room was still. The DA looked confused. Orders for what? Hale turned to him, lifting a folder. To observe this case, and to execute immediate action if any evidence of constitutional violation is confirmed. He turned his eyes toward the 2 officers sitting like schoolboys caught cheating, or obstruction of justice. Kent shifted in his seat. Daniel swallowed hard. Simone gave a slow nod. Then I suggest you take a seat, Mr. Hale. He did. Front row. Eyes never leaving the officers. The judge turned back to the courtroom. Let's resume. The DA, now visibly nervous, fumbled his papers. As I was saying, the case involves officers Kent and Daniels, who, on the night of June 12th, arrested Ms. Simone Brooks, Your Honor, without probable cause. Ms. Brooks had provided proper identification and was not resisting arrest. He cleared his throat. We have dashcam footage, body cam footage, and several eyewitness testimonies, including one from a minor. He clicked a remote. The courtroom screens flickered on. Simone glanced briefly, but she already knew what was coming. The footage started. Rain. Headlights. Her voice, calm, polite. The officers yelling, pulling her, slamming her down, ignoring her. The courtroom watched in stunned silence. Even the defense attorney, some slick-haired guy with a smirk too confident for the situation, looked uncomfortable. When the video ended, no one said a word for a long moment. Then came the gasps. Because the officers' body cams? They kept rolling after she was cuffed. And what they said didn't just show bias. It showed intent. You see how quick she pulled the judge card? Daniels had muttered. Kent had laughed. Yeah, thought her little black girl magic was gonna work. Daniels. She thinks wearing a suit makes her special. Kent. Nah, they're all the same. The courtroom buzzed. Reporters scribbled so fast it sounded like thunder. Hale looked at his 2 agents, gave a single nod. Simone tapped her gavel. Order. She looked down at the 2 men. You were saying I fit the description, correct? Neither officer responded. I'd like to know, what description was that? Still no answer. She leaned forward. Because in this footage, You didn't radio in. You didn't read my rights. You didn't even check my ID properly." The silence was loud. Then Simone turned to the defense. "Would your clients like to explain? Or shall I move to consider charges of false arrest, racial profiling, abuse of power, and obstruction of justice?" The defense attorney stood, stuttering. "Your Honor, we'd like to request a recess to speak with the prosecution." Request denied. Simone's voice was colder now. But just as the pressure in the room seemed ready to explode, a voice shouted from the back of the courtroom, "Wait!" Everyone turned. A teenage girl stood up, maybe 16, skinny, with long braids and a cast on her wrist. She wore a hoodie 2 sizes too big and clutched a piece of paper. Simone narrowed her eyes. "Who are you?" "I'm the girl they arrested before you." The girl's voice cracked. "They broke my wrist. Said I was loitering. I was waiting for my little brother. They dragged me into their car, same as you. They threw my phone out the window." Simone gestured to the bailiff. "Bring her forward." The girl walked up, hands shaking. She handed Simone the paper. It was a drawing. Crude, childlike, but clear. It was of 2 cops and a small girl. One officer had K on his shirt, the other D. And in the corner, a tiny broken heart drawn in red crayon. "I drew this in juvie. They said I couldn't tell anyone, that no one would believe me." Simone stared at the drawing for a long moment. Then she turned to look at the officers again. Neither could meet her eyes now. Hale stood. "I'd like to speak, Your Honor." "Go ahead. We'll be launching a federal investigation effective immediately. Officers Kent and Daniels will be suspended pending outcome of the criminal and civil rights case." Simone nodded once. "Thank you, Mr. Hale." Kent stood up, panicked. "This is insane. We didn't know who she was. We were doing our job." Daniels shouted. "This is reverse racism. We're the victims here." The courtroom burst into noise. Simone stood. Bam! The gavel hit the wood. Order in the court. But even she could feel it now. The storm breaking, the shift in air, the moment that had been coming for far too long. She looked at the 2 men. "You didn't arrest a criminal that night," she said. "You arrested a symbol of what you fear, an educated, powerful black woman who doesn't flinch when you try to break her." She turned to the bailiff. "Take them into custody." The officers froze. "What?" Kent gasped. "You can't." But the cuffs clicked around their wrists. The very cuffs they had used to humiliate her. The courtroom erupted, some in cheers, some in shocked silence, some in furious whispers. But none of it mattered. Simone watched as they were led out the same way she had been walked in. Head down, shackled. And just when she thought it was over, her assistant, Kara, rushed to her side, breathless. "Judge Brooks, Simone, there's something you need to see. Right now." Simone turned to her. "What is it?" Kara looked pale. "It's about your car. The night of the arrest. We just got the surveillance footage from the liquor store, and something's wrong." Simone's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, something's wrong?" Kara leaned closer and whispered just 4 words. "Someone planted a device." Simone's heart stopped. The storm wasn't over. It was just beginning. For a split second, the world froze. Someone planted a device. Simone stared at Kara. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Around her, the courtroom was still buzzing from the arrests, but Simone no longer heard the noise. The air felt thick, heavy, like something terrible was hanging just above her head, waiting to drop. "What kind of device?" she finally managed to whisper. Kara looked around nervously. "Not here," she said. "You need to see this yourself." It's bad, Simone." Simone gave one last glance at the courtroom, at the backs of the 2 officers being led away. Then she nodded. "Court is adjourned," she said quickly. The gavel struck once, hard. She stepped down from the bench and followed Kara out through the side door, her black robe swaying behind her like a cape. The hallway outside was dim and quiet, the fluorescent lights humming above them. Every footstep echoed like a drumbeat. They reached Simone's chambers. Kara closed the door behind them and locked it. Then she pulled out her phone. "This footage just came in from the store's manager," she said, fumbling to open the video. "He didn't even think it was important until he saw the news and realized you were the woman those cops arrested. So he went back through his cameras." She turned the phone to Simone. The video was grainy, taken from a camera above the liquor store's side entrance. Simone recognized the scene. It was the same lot where she'd pulled over that night. The rain fell hard, making everything hazy. Her silver Mercedes sat parked at the far end of the screen. But what made Simone gasp wasn't the car. It was the man who approached it, minutes before the police arrived. He wore a hoodie, dark jeans. His face was turned away from the camera. He crouched by the front bumper, doing something with his hands. Fast, practiced, like he'd done it before. 30 seconds. That's all it took. Then he was gone, melting into the darkness just as the patrol car's headlights swept into view. Simone watched the video again. And again, Kara whispered. Simone, someone set you up. Simone sat down slowly, her hands in her lap. What kind of device? She asked again, her voice low. The police department didn't find anything in your car, Kara said. Or, that's what they said. But this footage, someone clearly tampered with it. We don't know what they planted, or if it's still there. Simone's mind raced. Was it a GPS tracker? A listening device? Something worse? A knock came at the door. Kara jumped. Simone stood, her heart thudding in her chest. Who is it? She called out. It's Hale. She unlocked the door and opened it. Agent Hale stepped in, holding a manila folder. His jaw was tight. You need to see this, he said, holding it out. Inside were photos, still frames from surveillance, copies of officer text messages pulled from an anonymous leak, maps of Simone's route the night of her arrest, photos of her house. I believe there's a conspiracy inside your department, Hale said. And you're not just the target because you're a judge. Simone's eyes narrowed. Then why? He paused. Because you're the one who opened the file on the Randall case. The misconduct suit involving the teenager. Simone remembered. The 16-year-old boy roughed up by officers. His mother had begged her not to let it get buried. Simone had pushed it forward, risked her name, her position, everything. They're trying to shut down the case, Hale said. By silencing you. Simone turned to Kara. Tell security to check my car. Top to bottom. If there's anything left behind, I want it bagged and sent to forensics. Kara nodded and rushed out. Simone faced Hale again. What happens now? We dig deeper, he said. We're going to find out who was behind this, who gave the orders, and who else was involved. But you need to be careful. No press statements. No meetings alone. And if anything else happens, anything, you call me. Simone nodded, her spine straight. I won't stop. He gave her a small smile. Didn't think you would. Later that evening, Simone stood at her window, watching the rain return. It tapped against the glass like fingers drumming. She couldn't shake the feeling in her chest that this went deeper than she thought. That the man on the camera hadn't been working alone. That someone she knew, maybe even someone inside her own court, had helped make this happen. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Back off, or next time you won't walk away. She stared at the screen. Her jaw clenched. She called Hale immediately. I just got a threat. Text or call. Text. Forward it to me. Right now. She did. 30 seconds later, he called back. The number's been wiped. Burner phone. Whoever sent it knew what they were doing. Simone stared out the window. I'm not afraid of threats. You should be, Hale said. Because this isn't just about harassment anymore. This is organized. Coordinated. A beat passed. You have anyone you trust? He asked. Simone thought for a moment. There was one. Miles Bennett. Her childhood friend. Now an investigative journalist for a major news outlet. They hadn't spoken in a year, not since their last argument. But Miles had sources. Access. And instincts sharp as glass. She picked up the phone. Miles? It's me. He sounded surprised. Simone? Wow. It's been a minute. I need your help. And I need you to be quiet about it. There was a pause on the other end. You okay? No, she said. But I will be. The next morning, she met him in a parking garage, same one they used to sneak out of his teens. Now it smelled of oil and damp concrete. She brought him everything, copies of the texts, the surveillance video, the photos from Hale. She explained what happened. All of it. Miles whistled low. You're sitting on a bomb, Simone. And someone's trying to light the fuse. That's why I need you, she said. Find the source. Dig deeper than the DOJ can. I trust you. He nodded. All right. But if I do this, we do it my way. No half-truths. No shielding the ones in power. Simone didn't blink. Burn it all down, if you have to. He gave her a look. You've changed. No, she said. I've just stopped playing nice. As she walked back to her car, her phone buzzed again. A number she did recognize this time. It was Chief Renner, the head of the city's police department. The same man who had claimed her arrest was a misunderstanding. His voice on the line was smooth. Too smooth. Judge Brooks. I think we need to talk. Privately. Simone's breath caught in her chest. What about? He paused. I think you already know. And before she could respond, boom, an explosion rocked the parking garage. Simone dropped the phone and turned. Smoke rose in the distance. Not from her car. From Miles's. And someone was running away. Simone screamed his name. Miles. And sprinted toward the fire. The blast knocked Simone back a step, the shockwave throwing heat and chaos through the garage. Alarms began to blare. Smoke poured from the burning car. Miles's car, its back end engulfed in flames. Glass rained down from the upper levels. Somewhere, a sprinkler kicked in, drizzling water that hissed as it touched the fire. Miles, she screamed again, pushing forward through the smoke, heart pounding like a war drum. Her heels slipped on the slick concrete, but she didn't stop. A figure stumbled out from the other side of the car, coughing, limping, black soot covering his face. Miles. Alive. He collapsed to one knee, eyes wide with terror, gasping for air. Simone dropped beside him, grabbing his shoulders. You're okay, you're okay, she repeated, her hands checking for burns, blood, anything. Can you breathe? He nodded weakly, eyes darting around. They knew, he rasped. They knew we were meeting here. Someone's watching you. The water fell heavier now. The garage echoed with sirens, fire trucks and ambulances howling closer. Simone helped him to his feet. We need to get out of here. They hobbled toward the exit, both coughing, soaked, but alive. As they stepped into the open air, emergency vehicles roared around the corner. Simone flagged down a paramedic, and within seconds, Miles was rushed to the back of an ambulance. But before the doors closed, he grabbed her hand. I saw the guy who ran. Couldn't get a good look, but he was in uniform. Simone's blood turned to ice. Police. Miles nodded once. Get Hale. Now. The doors slammed shut, and the ambulance peeled away. Simone stood there for a moment, rain mixing with smoke and tears, before she pulled out her phone and called Agent Hale. There was a bomb, she said the moment he answered. Miles's car. He's alive, but barely. Silence. Then Hale's voice, tight and controlled. Are you hurt? No. Was it a warning or an attempt? I think it was a cover-up. She could hear him moving fast, barking orders in the background. I'm sending a federal protection team to your home. You're not to be alone from now on. Understand? Yes. And Simone? Yes. Someone inside the department tried to kill a journalist. This is bigger than anything we've seen before. I need you to be ready for what's coming. She looked back at the smoking garage. I already am. That night, her house was swarmed with federal agents. Not city cops. Not state troopers. Just Hale's people. Unmarked cars patrolled the street. Cameras were checked. The perimeter was scanned every hour. But Simone didn't sleep. She sat at her desk, rewatching the liquor store footage, frame by frame, over and over, until finally, her eyes caught something new. A reflection, in the window of the liquor store. Just before the mystery man crouched by her car, a second figure passed behind him. Someone else, wearing what looked like a badge clipped to their belt. Two people, one plan. And then, her phone buzzed. A new number. A text. Still feels safe? Simone stood so fast her chair fell back. She opened her laptop, accessed the private DOJ server Hale had given her, and uploaded everything. The footage, the texts, the drawing from the teen girl, the fire. She added a message. You said to be ready. I'm not waiting anymore. Trace this number. Find out who's inside. And tell your boss. I'm not backing down. She hit send. Then she paced. An hour passed. At 3:07 a.m., her doorbell rang. She checked the peephole. One of Hale's agents. She opened it. He handed her a small black envelope with no markings. From Hale, he said. He didn't want to send it electronically. She opened it slowly. Inside, a single sheet of paper. It's not just the department. It's the courthouse. She froze. What? She turned the paper over. A list of names. 3 judges. 2 clerks. And 1 attorney. All of them people she worked with. Sat next to. Had lunch with. People who smiled in her face. At the bottom of the page, Hale had written, they're on payroll. We don't know who's paying yet. But the device in your car? It wasn't a tracker. It was a listening bug. You've been recorded for weeks. Simone sat down hard. Her office. Her home. Her car. They'd been listening to everything. Waiting. Planning. Trying to get something. Anything. They could twist, leak, or use against her. But it hadn't worked. And now, they were getting desperate. She turned back to her phone, and sent one more message to Hale. I want to set a trap. I want them to come after me again. But this time, we catch them red-handed. 10 minutes later, the reply came. Let's make them think they've won. The plan started the next morning. Simone arrived at the courthouse like it was just another day. She wore no robe, just a tailored black suit. Her heels clicked on the marble floor. Her expression was calm. But in her bag was a tiny recorder of her own. And in the courtroom walls, Hill's team had planted cameras. They were going to bait the trap, set it, wait, and let the traitors come crawling out. She walked into her chambers, sat at her desk, and pretended to work. Outside, the courthouse bustled. And then a soft knock. She looked up. It was Judge Franklin. Tall, silver-haired, charming. One of the names on Hale's list. Mind if I come in? He asked. Simone smiled. Of course not. He walked in slowly, shutting the door behind him. Crazy couple of days, huh? He said, sitting across from her. She nodded. You could say that. He leaned forward, lowered his voice. I heard what happened with the cops. Terrible stuff. You know, I always said, the department needs a cleanup. Simone tilted her head. You've been saying that for years, right? He chuckled. Well, saying and doing are two different things. She let the silence stretch. Then he said something that made her skin crawl. Look, I don't know what you're planning next, but sometimes the smart thing is to step back. Let these things blow over. Maybe take a vacation. Let the heat cool. She raised an eyebrow. Are you advising me to disappear? He gave her a long look. I'm saying, the people who stirred this up, they don't like mess. They clean messes up. Simone leaned back slowly. Funny, she said, because I was about to tell you the same thing. Franklin stiffened. Simone smiled. Then, click. The office door burst open. Hale's agents flooded in, weapons drawn. Franklin stood so fast his chair toppled. What the hell is this? Hale entered last, holding a laptop. Judge Franklin, you've just been recorded attempting to obstruct a federal investigation and intimidating a sitting judge. Franklin's mouth opened, then snapped shut. You're under arrest. As they cuffed him and read his rights, Simone stood slowly. Her hands were steady, her voice calm, but her eyes? Burning. Because now she knew. This wasn't just about two dirty cops. This was a network, a system, and it had just taken its first real hit. But before she could even breathe in the moment, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a voicemail. She pressed play, and a woman's voice whispered, You should have stopped when you had the chance. He was just the beginning. Simone's heart dropped. She stared at the phone. Because that voice? She recognized it. It belonged to someone she never would have suspected. Someone she once called a friend. Simone dropped the phone. It clattered onto the floor, the echo of that voice still dancing in the air like smoke. She stood frozen, her fingers twitching, her stomach twisted, her lungs suddenly tight. She bent down slowly, picked up the phone, and replayed the message. The voice came again, low and cold. You should have stopped when you had the chance. He was just the beginning. Chills ran through Simone's body. She closed her eyes and let the sound wash over her, listening for every detail, every breath, every cadence. There was no doubt about it. The voice belonged to Erica Dalton, her friend, her colleague, her former law school roommate. Erica, the one who had stood by her side during Simone's appointment as judge, the one who had attended her father's funeral, the one who had once held Simone's hand during a panic attack, whispering, We don't break. We bend. We rise. And now, she was threatening her. Why? Simone's thoughts raced. Erica was the lead clerk for Judge Franklin. Brilliant. Poised. Always had the inside scoop on courthouse gossip and backdoor deals. But Simone never imagined this. She grabbed her coat. As she stormed out of her office, Hale was waiting. I need a trace, she snapped, handing him her phone. That voicemail. It's Erica Dalton. He took it without a word, already typing into a secure tablet. Did she use a burner? He asked. No. That's the scary part. She didn't hide it. Hale looked up, his eyes narrowing. Then she's sending a message. I'm going to see her. Not alone, you're not. Then come with me. Within minutes, they were in a black SUV, the tires slicing through downtown traffic. The sun was barely rising, casting everything in a dusty gold haze. The city felt quiet, but Simone's heart pounded with rage. Erica lived in a high-rise apartment near the courthouse, one of those sleek buildings with glass walls and a fancy doorman. They took the elevator in silence. Simone's fists clenched at her sides. When the doors opened on the 16th floor, Hale motioned her to stay back as he approached Erica's door and knocked firmly. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. He turned to Simone. You sure this is the place? Simone nodded. She moved here last year. After her promotion. Hale pressed his ear to the door. Then, bang. A loud thud from inside. Hale drew his weapon. Stay back. He kicked the door open. The apartment was in shambles. Papers everywhere. Couch overturned. A lamp broken on the floor. The air smelled like bleach and panic. And Erica? Gone. No sign of her. On the kitchen counter sat a single envelope. Simone picked it up, hands trembling slightly. Her name was written on it. Inside, a handwritten note. You were never supposed to make it this far. But you always were too stubborn to quit. I'm not the only one. You can't trust anyone, not even in your chambers. Attached was a photo. A grainy, blown-up image taken from a courthouse security camera. It showed Simone sitting at a table. Across from her was someone she knew well. Kara. Her assistant. Her shadow. Her ally. Simone's stomach twisted again. Kara. No, she whispered. That can't be right. But Hale was already looking at her, his expression grim. She was the one who brought you the liquor store footage, wasn't she? He asked. Simone nodded slowly. And the one who told you about the planted device? Another nod. Could have been leading you to the truth, or feeding you breadcrumbs to keep you in line. Simone stared at the photo. It didn't make sense. Kara had been loyal, smart, fierce. But Erica had said, not even in your chambers. Simone's phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. This time it said, you should have checked your calendar. Her heart skipped. She pulled up her work calendar on her phone. At the bottom of today's date was a meeting she hadn't added. Private briefing with DOJ, 7 a.m. Location, Simone's office. The time? 6:56 a.m. She spun to Hale. They're going to plant something. In my chambers. Right now. He didn't hesitate. Go. Now. They bolted back into the elevator. As the floors ticked down, Simone tried to push the panic out of her head. Not Kara. Not her. But if the note was true, everything Simone thought was safe, wasn't. The SUV tires screamed as they pulled up to the courthouse. Simone jumped out before it stopped moving, racing through the back staff entrance with Hale close behind. Up the stairwell. Second floor. Third. Then, she heard it. A click. A drawer slamming shut. From inside her office. Simone burst through the door. And there she was. Kara. Standing behind Simone's desk. Holding something in her hand. They locked eyes. Time slowed. Kara's expression didn't show guilt. It showed resignation. Like she had waited for this moment. Simone, she said softly. What are you doing? Simone asked, her voice cracking with betrayal. Kara slowly raised her hands, revealing what she held. A flash drive. I wasn't going to use it, she said. But they threatened my brother. Simone froze. I didn't know how deep it went, Kara continued. Not at first. But once you got arrested, once you fought back, I knew they were going to destroy you. So I gave you just enough. The footage. The clues. Just enough to keep you alive. Simone stepped closer. You could have told me. They tapped my phone, Kara said. They searched my apartment. I had no one, Simone. No one but you. I thought if I helped guide you, if I gave you time, you'd figure it out before they got to you. Hale stepped into the room, weapon lowered but ready. Put the drive down. Kara looked between them. Then slowly, she set it on the desk. Simone reached for it. I downloaded everything, Kara whispered. Names, emails, bank records. There's a judge from another district involved. It's nationwide. Hale snatched the drive and handed it to one of his agents. Simone stood there, heart thundering. She looked at Kara, pain in her voice. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Tears welled in Kara's eyes. Because I didn't think you'd make it this far. A silence passed. Then Simone whispered, neither did they. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. Gunfire. Screams. The agents spun around, radios crackling. This is Unit 4. We're under fire. East stairwell. 2 men down. Simone ducked as Hale barked orders into his radio. Then the power cut out. The entire courthouse went black. No lights. No sound. Just silence. And then heavy boots approaching. Someone was coming. And this time, they weren't trying to scare her. They were coming to finish it. Darkness swallowed the courthouse like a wave. The only light came from the hallway's flickering emergency bulbs, pale, cold, blinking like a heartbeat on life support. The building, once full of law and order, now felt like a war zone. Gunfire crackled in the distance. Boots pounded the marble. Shouts echoed up the stairwells. But inside Simone's chambers, it was silent. Simone crouched behind her desk, breathing fast, her hand gripping the arm of Kara, who was frozen beside her. Hale and 2 of his agents were positioned at the door, weapons drawn, flashlights mounted. Everyone quiet, Hale said under his breath. The door rattled once. Then again, someone was testing the handle. Simone's heart beat so loud it filled her ears. Hale gave a silent count with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Boom. The door exploded inward. Splinters. Screaming metal. Gunshots followed. Rapid, close. Muzzle flashes lit up the office in bursts of orange and white. One of Hale's agents went down instantly, hitting the floor with a thud that made Simone flinch. Stay down, Hale roared. The second agent fired back, bullets slamming into the doorframe, sending chunks of drywall flying. A figure stumbled in, a man in tactical gear, no badge, no name tag. Just black clothes, a covered face, and a rifle. Kara screamed. Simone yanked her down, shielding her as Hale tackled the intruder, slamming him to the ground. The gun skidded across the floor. They wrestled, Hale grunting as the man fought like an animal. Then, crack. Hale's elbow came down hard. The man went limp. For a moment, the office was still again, filled only with smoke and the sharp smell of gunpowder. Simone stood slowly, knees shaking. Hale pushed himself up, breathing hard. We need to move. There's more coming. He grabbed the down man's radio and clicked it on. Static. Voices. Negative on the judge. Repeat. Negative. Check top floor. They were still searching. Still hunting. Simone, Hale said urgently. Is there another way out of this building? She thought fast. The law library, she said. It connects to the back hall. There's an exit through the archives. Go, he said. Take Kara. We'll hold them off and buy you time. No. Simone grabbed his arm. You'll be outnumbered. We don't need to win. We just need to stall. He shoved a small pistol into her hand. Go. Simone nodded once, grabbed Kara's hand, and ran. They tore down the hall, past shattered glass and the smell of burning plastic. Simone's heels clacked against the floor, echoing in the dark like gunshots. Her coat flared behind her as she sprinted, ducking low, her arm gripping Kara's like a lifeline. They reached the law library. It was massive, old, with floor-to-ceiling books and creaky rolling ladders. Shadows clung to every corner. Simone flipped on a flashlight and led Kara past the rows of books, into the back study area, then toward the old wood-paneled wall. She knelt and pried open a small panel hidden behind a filing cabinet. Help me, she said. Together, they pulled it aside, revealing a narrow hallway lined with concrete. Dust filled the air. This leads to the archives, Simone said. No one uses it anymore. They slipped inside. As they moved, Kara asked, Why did you build this into the courthouse? Simone looked back at her. I didn't. My predecessor did. During the 70s. Said sometimes justice needs a back door. They emerged into the archives, a cold, cavernous room filled with sealed boxes, old case files, and cobwebs. In the far corner, behind stacks of ancient trial records, was a steel door with a keypad. Simone entered a code. It buzzed unlocked. Freedom. They stepped out into the early morning air, gray, cold, and still. The city hadn't woken up yet. But someone had. 3 black SUVs were parked across the alley. Federal agents surrounded them. Hill's backup. A voice shouted, Judge Brooks. Are you hurt? Simone stepped forward. I'm fine. Kara's with me. She has evidence. The agents rushed forward, guiding them into the vehicles. Inside, Simone collapsed into the seat, shaking but alive. Kara stared straight ahead, numb. Hale arrived minutes later, bloodied, limping, but walking. We got 2 of them, he said. Others scattered. But this operation, it's not just local. We pulled IDs off one of the men. He's military trained. Private contractor. Simone's breath caught. Who's behind this? She asked. Hale handed her a folder. The cover said, Black Veil, Domestic Intelligence Ops, Unauthorized. Simone opened it. Inside, payment records. Names. Photos. Politicians. CEOs. Judges. The organization had been infiltrating the justice system for years. Controlling verdicts. Silencing investigations. Using people like Erica, like Franklin, like the officers who arrested her, as pawns. This is what the flash drive uncovered, Hale said. Kara had it all. Simone turned to Kara. Her face was pale, eyes rimmed red. I didn't know what it meant at first, she whispered. I thought I was helping with favors, stealing files, moving schedules. But once I realized it was about you, I couldn't do it anymore. Simone nodded slowly. You helped save lives tonight. But before the moment could settle, Hale's phone rang. He answered, listened silently, then looked up. That voicemail you got, he said. Simone nodded. Erica. It wasn't live. It was pre-recorded, sent from a server in another country. Simone frowned. She faked it. No, he said. She's missing. Been gone for over 24 hours. Last seen getting into a private car outside the courthouse. Simone blinked. Then who sent the voicemail? Hale looked down. We think someone's using her identity to throw us off. Whoever's really behind this, they're not just organized. They're way ahead of us. Simone exhaled slowly. What now? Hale leaned forward. We hold a hearing. National level. This isn't just a courtroom fight anymore. You're the face of a movement now, Judge Brooks. She sat back, her thoughts a whirlwind. The trap had worked. The walls had cracked. But the war was far from over. She stared out the SUV window as the city lights flickered to life. And just as the sun broke over the horizon, painting gold across the skyline, her phone buzzed again. A photo this time. Miles, lying in a hospital bed, unconscious. His forehead had been tampered with. And below the image, a message. This is what happens when you talk too much. Simone's fingers tightened into fists. They'd touched her friend again. That was a mistake. A big one. Because now, she was coming for all of them. The hospital hallways were too quiet. Simone walked fast, Hale and two agents flanking her sides, their steps pounding like a drumbeat down the corridor. Every nurse they passed looked up, startled by the intensity in their eyes. The morning sun spilled through the windows, but it brought no warmth. Only questions. Only dread. Miles's room was guarded now. Two federal officers stood outside the door, expressions hard, eyes scanning every person who walked by. When they saw Simone, they nodded and stepped aside. She didn't knock. She just walked in. The beeping of the heart monitor greeted her first. Steady. Slow. Too slow. Miles lay motionless, pale against the crisp white sheets. His eyes were shut, an oxygen line under his nose. The four in his arm had been replaced, the old one bagged, and already in the forensics lab. His wrist was bandaged. He must have fought, even half-conscious. Simone moved to his side and gently took his hand. It was warm, barely, but he didn't stir. You said you'd dig for me, she whispered. Now I'm digging for you. Behind her, Hale scanned the room. We've got agents reviewing the hospital's security cameras. No one unauthorized entered, but that 4 was tampered with at 4:17 a.m. A nurse on the rotation swears she checked him at 4:10 and everything was fine. Simone didn't turn. They're watching us every second, she said. No matter where we go. Hale stepped closer, but now we watch them back. He pulled a USB stick from his pocket and handed it to her. What is it? She asked. The decrypted files from the flash drive. It's all there. Payments. Call logs. A full list of confirmed insiders. Over 60 people. Judges. Detectives. Prosecutors. Elected officials. Simone's eyes widened. 60. Hale nodded grimly. And that's just what we know so far. The operation is called Project Silencer. It's been running for over 8 years. Started in D.C., funded privately. Expanded nationwide. Their mission? Eliminate judges, lawyers, and officials who disrupt their control. Simone swallowed. Who runs it? Hale's jaw tensed. We have one name at the top. Partial confirmation. It's someone powerful. High profile. If we go public without concrete proof, they'll bury it and discredit you. Who is it? He handed her a photo. It was a man in a navy blue suit, smiling, shaking hands with a mayor at a charity gala. Simone's mouth went dry. Congressman Philip Greystone. One of the most well-known voices in law and order politics. Publicly, he was beloved, charismatic, donated to schools, spoke about justice reform. Privately, a puppet master. You're telling me he's behind this? Simone whispered. Or he's the front. Either way, he's our link. She looked back at Miles, her oldest friend, barely breathing because he dared to help her. Then she looked at Hale. I want him exposed. Hale nodded. We'll need to be strategic. We can't go through the courts yet. It's too compromised. We go public. A press conference. Live. You show them the truth. Simone exhaled slowly. You want me to tell the country that our justice system is infected from the inside? No, Hale said. I want you to prove it. Simone stood tall, then set it up. But as they turned to leave, the heart monitor behind them let out a long, flat tone. Simone whipped around. Miles. Doctors rushed in, shoving past her. CPR started. Voices yelled. Machines beeped wildly. Simone backed away, her hands shaking, eyes locked on the flurry of chaos around her friend. Hale pulled her into the hallway, shielding her from the worst of it. A nurse burst out moments later. He's crashing. His heart just stopped. We're trying to revive him. Simone's world spun. No. No. She pressed a hand to the glass window, watching them fight to bring Miles back. Every moment stretched. Then, beep, beep, beep. The line returned. Faint, but steady. A doctor looked up through the window and gave a small nod. He was alive. For now. Simone wiped her face. I can't wait anymore, she said. We go public. Today. That afternoon, Simone stood behind a podium outside the courthouse. TV crews, reporters, and people from every corner of the city had gathered. News vans lined the block. Helicopters circled overhead. She wore her black robe. Not because she had to. Because she chose to. Because they tried to strip her of it. And failed. Cameras flashed as she stepped up to the mic. The crowd quieted. My name is Judge Simone Brooks, she began. And I have something you need to hear. She told them everything. The arrest. The planted bug. The attack on Miles. The shadow operation. The people inside the system helping to destroy it from within. The crowd gasped. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras zoomed in on her face. I have proof, she said, holding up the flash drive. Every name. Every payment. Every order. Every cover-up. Right here. She paused. I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for the boy who was beaten and silenced. For the girl who drew her story in crayon. For the black and brown people across this country who get cuffed before they get heard. For my friend, who's fighting for his life right now. The crowd was dead silent. Until someone clapped. Then more. Then it roared. As applause thundered, a hand touched her arm. Hale. He leaned in close. They've taken the bait. Simone looked at him. What do you mean? Greystone just made a statement. Denying everything. Blaming you. Said the justice system is under attack by people who want chaos. He's holding a rally tonight. A televised one. Simone's eyes burned with fire. Then we show the truth before he can lie. Hale nodded. I've arranged for the files to be broadcast tonight. But we'll need you to introduce it. Live. Simone turned back to the crowd. This time, her voice was steel. Tonight, she said, you'll see what they didn't want you to see. The truth. But even as the crowd cheered, she felt the weight of what came next. Because the storm wasn't over. Not yet. And as the sun began to set on a day that felt like history, she received one last message. No name. No number. Just a video clip. Simone tapped play. The screen showed a dark basement. A woman tied to a chair. Blood on her lip. A shaky camera zoomed in. The woman looked up. It was Erica. Bruised. Alive. She whispered just 2 words before the screen went black. It's bigger. The video haunted Simone. She sat in a dark studio backstage, waiting for the broadcast to begin. Every screen around her blinked with news coverage. Judge Simone Brooks to release explosive evidence live on air. Headlines ran wild. Online threads speculated everything from corruption to conspiracy to full government collapse. But all she could see was Erica's face, battered, pale, barely recognizable. It's bigger, she had said. That meant Project Silencer wasn't the top. It was a middle layer, a mask, and behind it, something worse. A soft knock at the studio door pulled Simone from her thoughts. Hale stepped in, holding a laptop in one hand and a folder in the other. You good? He asked. She nodded, though her stomach churned. I'll be better when this is over. He placed the laptop in front of her. We just finished tracing the video. It was uploaded using a proxy through 3 different countries, but the digital fingerprint was sloppy, almost like they wanted us to trace it. Simone leaned in. Why would they want us to find Erica? Hale tapped the keyboard. Because they knew you'd come for her. He pulled up satellite images, grainy, time-stamped. A van, pulled into an abandoned warehouse outside the city. Last night. Same van seen in courthouse footage days ago. That's where they're keeping her, Hale said. We don't know how long we have. They sent this message because they want to lure you in. You're a threat now. A big one. If they can't kill your credibility, they'll kill me, Simone finished. Hale looked at her. I can send a team. You don't need to be part of it. Simone closed the laptop. I do need to. He didn't argue. Just handed her a bulletproof vest. Then let's go. The van tore through the empty industrial zone on the city's edge. The sun had long since set, casting long shadows between rows of decaying warehouses and rusted steel. Hale sat beside Simone, loading his sidearm. 3 federal vehicles followed behind, packed with agents in tactical gear. Simone checked her watch. 37 minutes until her national broadcast was scheduled to begin. This won't take long, she said, her voice tight. The warehouse loomed ahead. 3 stories of concrete and broken windows, its roof caved in on one side. There were no lights, no guards, just silence. Too silent. The SUV stopped a block away. Hale turned to Simone. Stay behind me until we confirm visual. She gave him a hard look. Only if you do the same. They moved in. The front door was chained shut, but one of the agents cut it clean with bolt cutters. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and rust. A single hanging bulb flickered above a stairwell. Basement, Hale said. They descended slowly. Footsteps echoing. Then voices. Faint. Muffled. A moan. Simone's blood turned to ice. They rushed forward, turned a corner. And there she was. Erica, tied to a chair in the center of a concrete room, under a single hanging bulb. Bruised. Dirty. Eyes swollen shut. She gasped when she saw Simone. Simone, they're still here. Cut her loose. Hale shouted. An agent rushed in. Then the lights snapped off. Total darkness. Gunfire erupted. Screams. A flashbang exploded in the corner, lighting the room for a half-second. Enough for Simone to see 3 masked figures coming through a side door. She dove to the floor as bullets flew overhead. Hale fired back, yelling commands. Flank left. They're moving. Simone crawled toward Erica, pulled her down with her behind an overturned table. The 2 of them huddled together as another flash illuminated the chaos. 1 attacker fell. 2 remained. Then silence. Breathing. Smoke. And then, bang. The last man went down. Lights came on. Erica was free. Bloodied, but alive. She clung to Simone like a child. Did you get them? She whispered. Simone nodded. For now. They raced the clock. Erica was taken to a secure hospital under guard. Simone didn't go with her, not yet. She had one last job to do. She arrived at the broadcasting studio just 3 minutes before going live. A makeup artist dabbed her face with powder she didn't need. Her robe was clean, pressed. Her mind clear. And then a red light turned on. She was live. Millions were watching. She began. This week, I was arrested. Then I was threatened. Attacked. I had my car bugged. My friends hurt. And one of my closest allies kidnapped. She held up the flash drive. They did all this to hide what's on here. Because it exposes more than corruption. It exposes a shadow operation, Project Silencer, designed to dismantle justice from the inside. Behind her, on massive screens, the evidence began to play. Video files, audio recordings, bank transactions, the footage of her arrest, the planted bug, the footage from the liquor store. Then, images of the 60 names, faces, positions, crimes, one by one. Then she said the name aloud. Congressman Philip Greystone. Gasps across every newsroom in the country. He funds this, oversees it, and uses it to maintain control through fear. But we have the receipts. We have the proof. And now, so do you. Simone paused. You asked for justice. This is what it looks like. As the broadcast ended, her heart beat like thunder. Reporters screamed questions from behind the cameras. Simone didn't stop. She stepped down, walked out of the studio, into the street. And as the city erupted with sirens and breaking news alerts, her phone buzzed one last time. A simple message. No number. Just 6 words. Now you've really made them bleed. Simone stared at it. Then she smiled and whispered to herself. Good. Simone stood at the edge of the street outside the studio as the chaos unfolded. Helicopters circled overhead. Sirens wailed through downtown like a war cry. The crowd outside had grown into hundreds, people chanting her name, waving handmade signs that read, Truth Matters, and We Stand with Judge Brooks. But she didn't wave. She didn't raise her fist. She stood still, breathing in the moment. Because she knew this wasn't the end. It was the middle. Inside her phone, That message still burned. Now you've really made them bleed. Someone out there was watching her closely, too closely. Someone powerful. Someone who hadn't flinched even when their organization was laid bare in front of millions. That meant they weren't done. And neither was she. Hale found her at the edge of the sidewalk. They just issued a subpoena for Greystone, he said, panting slightly. The DOJ is moving fast. Your broadcast lit a fuse. Simone didn't smile. Instead, she said, they let me get this far. Hale nodded grimly. I've been thinking the same thing. Then why? She asked. Why would they let me survive the arrest, survive the smear campaign, the bombing, everything, and now the broadcast? Because someone above Greystone is playing the long game. Simone turned to him. Then we need to go higher. Later that night, she sat beside Erica in the secure hospital wing. The room was dark, lit only by the glow of the heart monitor and the pale light of the city outside. Erica's face was stitched and bruised, her eyes still swelling, but her voice was steady. I didn't know who they were at first, she whispered. I was told it was just data security work. Nothing serious. Just make sure files disappeared. Shift court schedules. Divert attention. Simone held her hand. And then, she asked softly. Erica's eyes watered. Then they started giving names. She paused, blinking back the tears. They asked me to schedule your arrest. 3 weeks before it happened, they already had the plan. You weren't supposed to walk away from that night. Simone froze. 3 weeks. Erica nodded. I tried to back out. That's when they took me. Said if I didn't finish the job, they'd come for my family. My niece. I kept thinking I could find a way to warn you. I left you that calendar invite. It was the only thing I could sneak in. Simone squeezed her hand tighter. You helped save me. But it's not over, Erica whispered, eyes flickering to the door. Simone, there's another list. Simone sat up straight. What list? Erica swallowed. They called it Project Phoenix. I only saw it once. It was a failsafe. If the broadcast ever happened, if the names were ever exposed, they'd activate it. Activate what? Erica looked her dead in the eye. Eliminate all potential witnesses. The words hit Simone like a punch. She stood fast and called Hale immediately. We need protection for every person involved in this case. Now, Erica, Miles, the teen witnesses, everyone. Hale's voice dropped. I was about to call you. I just got word. 2 names on the whistleblower list were just found dead. One was a former police informant. The other? A court translator. Both accidents. Simone's voice went cold. No more accidents. By morning, Simone had convened a secure meeting with federal officials, the DOJ, and the White House legal team. They sat in a glass-walled conference room 12 floors above the courthouse, guarded by snipers, drones, and a media frenzy outside. A full task force was formed that day. But Simone? She wasn't done. There's a name missing, she said to Hale, pacing the room. Who's above Greystone? Hale glanced at the board of names and connections. Every road stops at him. Then that means he's the distraction. She turned to the task force. We need to make him talk. Later that night, Simone entered a gray interrogation room. Sitting across from her, cuffed and furious, was Congressman Philip Greystone. His suit was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, but his eyes? Still smug, still certain. He smiled when she entered. Well, he said, if it isn't America's sweetheart. Congratulations on your little circus. Simone sat slowly. No cameras here, she said. Just you and me. Greystone leaned forward. Let me guess. You want names. A confession. The big reveal. I want the truth, she said. About Phoenix. His eyes twitched. You don't know what you're asking. Simone folded her arms. Tell me who gave the order. Greystone chuckled. I'll say this much. I'm not the architect. I'm just the salesman. The guy who makes it pretty. He leaned back, tapping his cuffs against the table. But the real power? You won't find them in a courthouse. Or a campaign. You'll find them in places where cameras don't go. Where money moves without touching hands. Name. He smirked. They're called the Circle. No names. Just roles. One runs military contracts. Another handles social media manipulation. One's in charge of judiciary placement. They don't fix the system. They built it. Simone's breath caught. You're saying our entire justice system has been scripted? Greystone nodded slowly. For decades. And you? You're a glitch. Silence settled like dust. Then he added, and glitches get deleted. Simone stood up, fists clenched. You just signed your sentence. He laughed softly. No, Your Honor. You just signed yours. Back at her office, Simone opened a new email. No sender. No subject. Inside, a single image. A satellite photo of her childhood home. Her mother's house. The image was high resolution, too high for the public. Below it, the words. Next, Simone's heart turned to ice. She picked up her phone and called her mother immediately. No answer. She called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Then, a call came in. Unknown number. She picked up. Mom. But it wasn't her mother. It was a voice distorted by static. A voice that said, "You took Greystone. We take her." Then silence. No breathing. No click. Just nothing. Simone stared at the phone in horror. They'd just made their next move. And this time, it was personal. The phone slipped from Simone's hand. It hit the floor with a dull thud, but she didn't even blink. Her eyes were locked forward, her body frozen. That voice, warped by static, still echoed in her ears. "You took Greystone. We take her. Her mother. They had her mother." "And oh," Simone whispered, suddenly gasping like she'd been punched in the chest. Hale burst into the room seconds later, agents trailing behind him. "What happened?" "They have my mom," Simone said, grabbing the edge of her desk for balance. "They took her. They're using her as leverage." Hale's face hardened. "Did they say where?" "No. Just sent a photo of her house, clean and close, like a sniper's eye view. That's all I got. We'll find her." Hale signaled to the nearest agent. "Mobilize every team. Pull traffic cams, drones, everything we've got. Lock down Simone's mom's house and start a 10-mile perimeter sweep." The agent nodded and ran out the door. Simone turned to Hale, her voice low and sharp. "They're not playing anymore. They're done threatening. This is full war." Hale looked her in the eye. "Then let's finish it." Meanwhile, in a dim room on the outskirts of town, Marie Brooks sat bound to a chair. Simone's mother was tough. Retired school principal. The kind of woman who could silence a classroom of teenagers with one look. Her silver hair was neatly tied back, her jaw set in quiet fury. A trickle of blood ran from her lip, but her eyes? Still defiant. A masked woman paced before her. Not tall, not loud, but calculating. "You raised her well," the woman said. "Too well." Marie didn't flinch. "You've got no idea what kind of storm you've pulled into your house." The woman chuckled. "It's not a house, Mrs. Brooks. It's a fortress, one that your daughter is trying to burn down from the inside." She leaned close, voice a whisper. But fire doesn't always win. Back in downtown D.C., Simone was hunched over a live map glowing on a screen. A dozen red dots blinked, traffic cams, drone sweeps, license plate reads. Hale stood behind her, feeding live updates into an encrypted channel. Then, a ping. One of the city's outskirt drones picked up an infrared signature moving through the trees near a power plant. Heat scan. 2 bodies. One sitting still. One pacing. An agent reported. "We've got a match to Mrs. Brooks's face." Facial scan confirmed. Simone's heart kicked into overdrive. "That's her," she said. Hale nodded. "We're 30 minutes out with a fast team. We can be there in 10 if we go solo." Simone grabbed her coat and badge. "Then we go. No press. No backup," Hale said. "This doesn't leak." They loaded into an unmarked vehicle and peeled out into the night. Rain started to fall, thin sheets streaking across the windshield, making the city lights blur like a dream. Inside the car, Simone sat silent. Hale broke it gently. "You sure about this? They're baiting you." "I know," she said. "But they forgot one thing." "What's that?" She turned to him, eyes sharp. "I bite." The road twisted through woods and past broken fencing. The last 5 minutes were off-road, rough terrain. When they finally pulled up near the back of the abandoned power station, Simone saw the warehouses frame through the trees. It was dark. Quiet. Too quiet. Hale checked his sidearm. "We go in low. We sweep slow. First sight of your mom, we move fast. Ready?" Simone nodded. They crept forward through the trees, rifles low. As they reached the back of the building, a door stood ajar. Inside, only the faintest glow of a single hanging light bulb spilled onto the concrete floor. They entered, and there she was. Marie, still tied, still strong. Simone almost cried out, but Hale grabbed her arm. "Wait." Because in the far corner, almost out of view, a small blinking red light. Simone's eyes widened. Tripwire. She scanned the room. Wires crisscrossed like spider webs. One wrong step, and the whole place would blow. Simone whispered, It's a kill box. Hale pointed to a window above them. Boost me. I'll flank around and draw attention. No, Simone said, breath trembling. This is my family. I go. Simone. I go. She ducked low and crept along the wall, tracing the wires with careful eyes. Each step was calculated, slow. Her ears caught every sound, every creak of the wood, every breath her mother took. Finally, she reached Marie. Mom, she whispered, tears brimming. Marie opened her eyes. Took you long enough. Simone smiled through the fear. Let's get you out of here. I never doubted you'd come. But before Simone could cut the zip ties, a voice crackled over a hidden speaker. You really are relentless, Judge. Simone froze. Did you think it would be this easy? The voice continued. Suddenly, the front door blew open. Smoke bombs. Gunfire. Hale's voice shouted over comms. They're here. It was an ambush. Simone ripped the knife from her belt and cut her mother free. Run, she screamed. Marie took off just as masked men stormed in. Simone fired, ducking behind the chair, bullets ricocheting off the concrete walls. She turned just in time to see Hale drop two attackers with pinpoint shots. He pushed through the smoke, grabbed Marie by the arm, and shouted to Simone. Go! Simone backed away, covering them, until she was last through the door. They sprinted into the woods, ducking branches and leaping fallen logs. Behind them, boom, the warehouse exploded in a ball of flame, lighting up the sky like dawn. They hit the ground as shrapnel whistled overhead. Simone rolled over, staring at the fire, gasping. Her ears rang. Her hands trembled. But they were alive. Marie crawled to her and gripped her shoulders. You came for me, she whispered. Always, Simone breathed. Hale stood, brushing soot from his jacket. I think that was their last card. But just as he said it, a helicopter passed overhead. Slow, loud, on the side, in white paint. Circle Logistics. Simone's eyes locked on the logo, and then her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out with shaking hands. Another video. This time, it showed the Capitol building. From above, a camera panned to a side wing of offices. One window lit up. Inside sat a senator, typing, talking, to Greystone. Timestamp, 10 minutes ago. Simone's blood ran cold. She looked at Hale. They're still inside. He looked at her, stunned. You mean Congress? Simone nodded slowly. It goes all the way up. And she whispered the only word she could manage. Tomorrow, we go to war. The next morning, Washington, D.C. didn't wake up, it roared awake. Helicopters circled above the Capitol. Protesters gathered in waves outside government buildings, waving signs that read, "No more secrets, truth first, and protect Simone." Reporters shouted into cameras, trying to make sense of a government unraveling in real time. But deep inside the Department of Justice, in a steel and glass conference room with no windows and guards at every entrance, Simone stood before a task force of the highest-ranking federal officials in the country. No robes, no cameras, just facts, just war. Congress has been infiltrated, Simone said, her voice calm but charged like a storm cloud. Project Silencer is only the surface. The circle is real. It's active, and it's embedded at the legislative level. Across from her sat 3 cabinet-level officials. One of them, the Attorney General, tapped his pen nervously. You're telling us a sitting senator is working with a domestic intelligence cabal? Simone didn't blink. I'm telling you multiple senators are. And we have video proof of Greystone speaking to one of them 10 minutes after his arrest. In a secure wing of the Capitol. She slid a USB drive across the table. Surveillance footage. Audio. Satellite tracking logs. All verified by Hale's team. They stared at the drive like it might explode. We leak this to the public, Simone continued, and the whole system collapses. Riots. Panic. Distrust in every court in America. So what are you proposing? The Secretary of Homeland Security asked. Simone leaned forward. We don't leak it. The room went silent. We use it. Quietly. We flip Greystone. We offer him a deal, minimum sentence in exchange for names, roles, timelines. He gives us their entire internal map. Greystone won't flip, the Attorney General said. He's too proud. Simone's jaw tightened. Then we break him. Meanwhile, in a maximum security federal detention center, Philip Greystone paced in his holding cell like a wolf in a cage. But even with iron bars around him, he looked unshaken. Until Hale entered. And behind him, Simone. Greystone's smirk faltered for a breath. Well, look at that. Queen Simone herself. I figured you'd be too busy feeding the cameras. No cameras here, Simone said flatly. Just leverage. She dropped a thick folder onto the table between them. Photos spilled out, satellite images of senators, flight logs, transaction reports, private circle security memos, and a picture of Greystone's daughter. His smirk vanished. She's in Europe, he said quickly. Not anymore, Hale said, sliding a recent customs photo across the table. She landed at JFK this morning. The circle wanted insurance. Simone leaned in, voice cold and surgical. You think they care about loyalty? You're not a partner. You're a pawn. And they just moved on. Greystone's fingers curled. What do you want? Names, Simone said. Every member of the circle. Every judge they own. Every vote they rigged. Every target on Phoenix's list. Greystone stared at the folder, rage fighting pride behind his eyes. Then, finally, he exhaled. You'll protect her? Simone nodded. Witness protection. New identity. Gone by nightfall. Greystone closed his eyes. And he broke. Back in the war room, Simone stared at a massive screen displaying a live feed of redacted files pouring in. Dozens of names scrolled across the display like credits at the end of a horror film. Senators, federal judges, advisors, intelligence analysts, even 2 Supreme Court clerks. The circle wasn't just a shadow. It was a cancer. But now, they had the biopsy. Launch the sweep, Simone said. And across the country, it began. Raids in the early morning hours. Safe houses breached. Encrypted hard drives seized. Dozens of arrests. Quiet, clean, but devastating. The circle was falling, piece by piece. But victories come at a price. Late that night, as Simone returned to her temporary safe house, her phone rang. The number was scrambled. Her blood went cold again. She answered. A voice, calm, male, older. You've won the skirmish, Judge. But not the war. Simone didn't speak. The voice continued. You think you've cut off the head. But there are more. Always more. You were just a test. And now we know who gets in the way. Simone clenched the phone. If you come near me, or anyone I love again, you misunderstand. We're done coming for you. But we've already started on your replacement. Click. The line went dead. Simone stood frozen. Replacement? She immediately called Hale. Trace that number. I think they're preparing the next phase. Minutes later, Hale called back. The number bounced through encrypted satellites. We can't trace it. Then came the news. Erica had vanished again. She was gone from the secure hospital room. No signs of struggle. No security footage. No witnesses. Just a single message scrawled on the bed's white sheet. Still think it's over? Simone's heart twisted. The circle hadn't died. It had evolved. The next morning, Simone stood at the Lincoln Memorial. A national press conference was underway. The crowd stretched as far as the eye could see. And at the podium, she addressed the country. I'm not here to tell you everything is fine. It's not. The justice system has been wounded. But wounds can heal. Scars can remind us to never forget. She held up a new document. Today, I submit to Congress and the President a proposal to establish the National Commission on Judicial Integrity. Independent, public, transparent. Every case touched by the circle will be reopened. Every official under suspicion investigated. We rebuild, brick by brick. The crowd erupted. But Simone's eyes scanned the horizon. Because she knew somewhere out there, behind some camera, behind some mask, they were still watching. But this time, so was the whole world. And when she turned to walk off the stage, her phone buzzed again. A message. Just one word. Finale. Simone's jaw set. Then let it come. Because if they wanted a finale, she'd give them one. The city held its breath. Washington, D.C., once buried in secrets, now pulsed with a rare electricity, a sense that something massive was about to happen. Streets were lined with federal agents, checkpoints, reporters, and citizens hungry for truth. Not justice in theory, but in action. Inside a sealed hearing room beneath the Capitol, an emergency session of the United States Congress was about to begin. The room wasn't grand. No cameras. No applause. Just wait. And in the center of it, flanked by U.S. Marshals, was Judge Simone Brooks. She wore her robe, not out of tradition, out of defiance. Across from her sat members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, each one with the Project Silencer files open in front of them. Beside them, hard drives full of Greystone's confession, photos of the circle's meetings, wiretaps, emails, secret votes. But it wasn't just about evidence anymore. It was about exposure. Judge Brooks, a senator, said, "Do you stand by your claim that a domestic intelligence operation infiltrated our justice system and attempted to assassinate you?" "I don't claim it," Simone replied. "I lived it." Murmurs stirred. Another senator leaned forward. "Then what do you say to those who argue this scandal is too big, that shining a light on this could break the public's faith in our institutions forever?" Simone's voice was clear. "We don't fix a broken house by hiding the cracks. We tear out the rot. We let the sunlight in, and we rebuild it better." Silence. Then the chairman spoke. "Judge Brooks, we have one final question. Where is Erica Dalton?" Simone paused, then slowly opened her leather folder. Inside was a letter, handwritten. From Erica. She slid it forward. "She left this behind the second time they took her. Hale's team found it hidden behind the mirror in her hospital room. We believe it was her backup plan." The chairman read it silently. His brow furrowed, then lifted. "Are you saying Erica infiltrated them from the inside?" Simone nodded. "She made them think they broke her. But she was learning, mapping their movements. And before they moved her the final time, she sent everything she had to one place they couldn't control." She reached into her robe and pulled out a flash drive. "This is the last key." She handed it over. That night, across every major network in the United States, a message aired. No intro music, no credits, just the seal of the United States and a single title. The Circle, Truth Unsealed. Simone appeared on screen. No robe, no script, just her. "I didn't ask for this fight," she said, "but I won't walk away from it either." Then the video rolled. Secret meetings, court manipulation, false convictions, and above it all, Erica's voice, clear, strong, from a hidden camera inside a Circle command center. "They think they're gods, but they bleed like the rest of us." And when Judge Brooks stood up, they panicked. Because for the first time, someone fought back. The nation wept. The nation raged. And most of all, the nation believed. 6 weeks later, Simone stood before a full gallery in a federal courtroom. Not as a defendant, not as a victim, but as a hero. The president had called her a shield for justice. Time magazine named her Person of the Year. But Simone wasn't interested in titles. She had one mission left: to close the loop. So when Erica finally emerged, rescued during a secret joint operation overseas, it was Simone who met her on the tarmac. They hugged for a long time. No words, no cameras, just healing. "You made it," Simone whispered. "I had to," Erica said. "You still needed me." In the months that followed, Greystone was sentenced to 85 years without parole. Over 40 members of the Circle were convicted in a public tribunal. A full re-audit of every affected case began under Simone's new National Commission. And for the first time in U.S. history, a black woman was appointed Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Her name? Judge Simone Brooks. And when she walked up the steps of the court that day, wearing her robe and holding her head high, the world knew. She wasn't just sitting on the bench. She was building a new one. One that couldn't be bought. One that couldn't be broken. One that belonged to the people. To justice. To truth. As the sun set on the nation's most turbulent chapter, Simone stood at the steps of the courthouse, looking over a crowd of faces, black, white, brown, young, old. She raised her hand, and they raised theirs. Together. And in that moment, for the first time in a long time, America didn't just hope for justice. It believed in it.